He indeed proposed to her. The same man responsible for her death 6 times in a row knelt before that moonlight and asked for Rishe's hand in marriage. What would you do in her place? Everyone there is impressed, including Rishe herself, who immediately refuses, but Arnold finds it amusing. At that moment, the king of that empire appears. His son is going to whine to him, but he pays no attention and decides to clean the floor. He kneels and apologizes to Rishe for the broken engagement and asks her to consider Arnold's proposal. In response, she says that such a thing would not cause any enmity, but she would like to talk with Rishe in her quarters. She ends up accepting. Already in Arnold's quarters, Rishe is still confused by all this, but Arnold simply says that he has fallen madly in love with her. In her first life, she would have seized this chance without thinking twice, but now she knows that life offers various choices. Now, Rishe wonders about the reason behind Arnold causing that war and if she could find out by standing by his side. Thus, she decides and proposes conditions for her to stay with him. She would roam aimlessly through the castle, and Arnold couldn't lay a finger on her. Later, the two set off on a journey to Arnold's kingdom. The carriages pass through various places, and along the way, Rishe takes the opportunity to cultivate some medicinal plants. At a certain point in the journey, she ends up falling asleep, leaning over a sword. She wakes up with Arnold approaching, which makes her repeat what she had said before. However, he only wanted to retrieve what she had taken from him, and we see that the sword was actually Arnold's own. Rishe noticed Arnold's presence even during sleep, and he finds that impressive. He then mentions having summoned the trading company chosen by Rishe, Tully's merchants. She's excited to see them in this life and ends up getting lost in the beauty of Arnold's face without realizing it. Thus they are interrupted by an enemy attack. Arnold gets out of the carriage and tells Rishe to stay there and behave. But Rishe ignores him and opens the door with a hairpin. When she sees the battle had already ended, Arnold easily defeated everyone there, but he didn't kill any of them. So his soldiers take care of the wounded on both sides. This intrigues Rishe. One of the allied soldiers was injured with poison. Although not fatal, he would be in pain for several days. So, Rishe says she can make an antidote. She uses the plants she picked along the way and makes a juice mixture. But she thinks they might be suspicious of her somehow. Taking the poisoned knife, she cuts herself, immediately trying to stop her, but she shows that everything is fine, and uses the antidote on the wound, speaking about the properties of the plants. They then treat the wounded. Oliver talks about Arnold's trust, who even brought Rishe along to the battle. Despite his sword defending the nation's interests better, Rishe acted on her own. In her life as a servant, she learned to unlock doors since her mistress always locked herself in her room. Arnold thought the flowers were just decorative. He is amazed with each new discovery about his beloved. Speaking about his soldiers, Arnold points out that one of the wounded used to live on the streets, earned his current position with his own effort. Another was injured trying to protect the youngest of them. He cares about his knights, and that catches Rishe's attention. Thus, Arnold kneels before her and thanks her for saving them. Rishe doesn't understand anything anymore. It's as if he were another person. Is he pretending? We find out that the knights looked at her strangely, thinking that Rishe was some enemy, since she is from another kingdom, and the information passed to the Emperor of Gokheim was that Arnold became interested in her and abducted her. In other words, Rishe is considered a hostage. Despite possibly being discriminated against in Gokheim, Arnold's kingdom, she finds it all great. Being a hostage, she won't have to participate in official duties, so she can stay idle. She mentions that Arnold almost touched her hand earlier, to which he replies that it was inevitable. Gokheim influences all other countries in the world. This was the only place that Rishe couldn't visit in all her other lives. She is amazed by the tremendous beauty of the place. Arriving at the destination, Arnold says that the countryside house where Rishe would stay couldn't be prepared in time, so he offers her a noble's room. However, she says that such comfort is not necessary, and she will be happy in the countryside house, even if it has been unused for years. After all, she is a hostage. Arnold wonders why she seems so proud of it. Upon arrival, the house was indeed very dusty. The maid inside Rishe was yelling to get out, and she is excited to tidy everything up. Then, the knights she helped before offer to help with heavy things. In a few years, Arnold will kill his father, the emperor. And so the war will begin. Rishe knows this, and even though it's useless, she wants to keep him away from his father as much as possible. She is totally against war. If not for that, she would have had a long life full of comfort. Later, Rishe realizes that she has finally managed to fulfill her dream of visiting all countries and admires the beautiful view. Then she senses Arnold's presence, which he finds incredible. Even hiding his presence and keeping his distance, she managed to feel him. Rishe asks about the points in the city that she observes, and Arnold responds to what each of them is. She is very amazed, making Arnold wonder why she finds it so amusing. She talks about her dream and that it was the final push for her to accept coming with him. Even though Arnold says that city has nothing worthy of her attention, she disagrees, saying that just by the points he mentioned, the city becomes incredibly beautiful. Arnold has never met anyone like Rishe, all her combat skills, medicine, general knowledge. A lady doesn't need any of that. This reminds Rishe of her past. Her mother always insisted that her destiny was to marry into the royal family and have an heir. She didn't need to learn anything else besides how to be a wife and maintain appearances. She admires every part of the knowledge of this world and asserts that she herself decides what is unnecessary or not. This time, she can't help but touch her. That's exactly what made Arnold fall in love with her. She is free to do whatever she wants, and he will support all her decisions. All her skills enchant his heart. Rishe still insists that he lies. So, he leaves and tells her to think of something she wants, because this time he broke the taboo of touching her. Yes, he really stirred Rishe up. She can hardly keep her balance. On another day, Rishe wakes up from a good night's sleep and is quickly summoned by Oliver, Arnold's personal servant. She hastily gets dressed and answers the door. Oliver apologizes for appearing so early, mentioning it would be difficult to find another time due to the unfinished duties with the prince. Rishe learns that Oliver has been assisting Arnold for 10 years and sees that he genuinely cares about him. He even assesses her without drawing attention, but Rishe is very perceptive and tells him he can analyze as much as he wants, surprising Oliver, who apologizes. Arnold has never fallen in love with anyone, and the fact that he asked for Rishe's hand surprises Oliver greatly. Oliver then hands her the list of honor guests as requested by the prince. Later, we see Diana, one of the most experienced servants. Her younger colleagues ask for her help, but Diana is arrogant and expects them to do things perfectly without any experience. Rishe visits Arnold in his office and surprises him with her attire. She asks him if she can personally choose her own servants as a form of payment for him touching her. Arnold agrees but mentions that the party that day is only to show that the prince is looking for someone. But Rishe sees no shame in being a princess hostage there and asks Arnold to feel free to reveal her as his actual wife. Arnold sees that he now seems to have permission to touch her, to which Rishe responds that in that case, they are wearing gloves. At the party, Arnold is surrounded by some guests, one of whom introduces his daughter in an attempt to get closer to him. But Arnold shows that he has already found his wife, impressing everyone, especially the women who see him smiling. Jealousy, envy, and ulterior motives surround Rishe, but compared to the public breakup of her engagement, this is nothing. Arnold thought it would be best to make it clear to everyone as soon as possible that Rishe is under his protection. Rishe is astonished. The man who ended her life in her previous existence is now protecting her. She mentions that she doesn't think there's anyone scarier than him in the art of the sword, and certainly not even she could defeat him. Arnold says that maybe they could train together someday, to which Rishe happily agrees. All of Rishe's reactions exceed Arnold's expectations, even though she is interested in the attacking method from before. The music begins to play, and Arnold doesn't want to force Rishe to dance, but she sees no reason not to. They get very close, just like that day. Rishe tries numerous times to take control of the dance to see Arnold's reaction, but it's as if his steps say, no matter how hard you try, it's useless. Despite being so close to each other, Arnold never invades Rishe's space. That's what a true romantic is. Everyone is amazed at their mastery. On the last step, Arnold pulls Rishe with force, destabilizing her, and she's sure she's going to fall. But Arnold holds her like a true gentleman. Despite everyone's admiration, some girls try to provoke Rishe with a spicy wine, but she only realizes this in the aroma and drinks it, saying that it's indeed an exotic drink, and thanks them for the reception. Later, she tries to finish drinking the wine outside. Arnold appears there, asking what's spicy. The wine has lost all its flavor, but Rishe thinks the least she can do is drink it all. Arnold takes the glass from her hand and consumes everything. Indeed, it was spicy. Arnold asks whom she was thinking about during the dance, catching Rishe off guard. However, she can't say she was thinking about her future self. So she says she was worried about his health, noticing that his left side movement is slightly slower, and there must be a wound in the neck area. And indeed, there's an old wound that slightly contracts his skin. Rishe is amazed. That was the result of a blade hitting him several times with the intention of finishing him off. Very few people know about this wound, and no one has ever noticed it just by looking. Rishe asks what caused it, but Arnold changes the subject, saying the night is getting chilly and leaves. The next day, Rishe pretends to be a servant again. Diana passes by and is arrogant again, hurrying her younger colleagues and complaining about the work they did before. Rishe offers to help them, and Diana wonders how she manages to have so much time to help. Rishe notices she carries a paper with notes, deducing that Diana can write. The younger colleagues apologize to Rishe. They can't remember everything. Rishe is kind and says it's always harder at first. Rishe learns that Diane comes from a wealthy family, but they went into debt and lost a lot. During the presentation of the servant's choice, all of them stand ready in the country house that Rishe herself cleaned. Diana is amazed at how clean everything is and wonders who could have cleaned it. Finally, the princess appears, and Oliver announces her. Diana can't believe her eyes, just like everyone else. Rishe wanted to learn their reality, so she pretended to be a common servant. She announces her chosen servants, and despite having 3 professionals there, she didn't choose any of them. Diana doesn't accept this. She gave her all for this position her whole life. Rishe then says that from today on, Diana will no longer be a servant. Rishe asks her if, at the beginning, she did her duties the same way she does now. Diana confesses that no, she couldn't remember how to do everything, and the more experienced ones were always busy. So she observed and learned, and despite becoming one of the best, she had something that all the others didn't. She already knew how to read and write. Very few families received the same education. Despite becoming an elite servant, Diana couldn't understand why all the others couldn't keep up, and now she realizes she never taught them properly. Rishe then has an idea. She wants to turn that country house into a servant training center, with Diane as one of the instructors. They would all learn to read and write and have an advantage in many things. Later, Rishe dresses up and intends to form an alliance with the merchants she met in her previous life. And thus, she reunites with Tully. Tully introduces himself, and even though Rishe already knows him, she still feels like he knows everything about her just by looking into her eyes. She tries to do business with him, but Tully says he has nothing to sell to her. He can see Rishe's great determination. She's practically betting her life on this negotiation, and he has nothing that can match such determination. So, he congratulates her on her marriage and wishes her happiness as the future princess heir, then leaves. Later, Rishe thinks about Chief Tully's refusal. She knows he chooses his clients well so that the client always needs him. She remembers him mentioning enjoying the city a little, so she gets an idea. During the night, Tully and his companions have fun in a tavern, and there, he meets Rishe, disguised with a different hair color. She competes in a drinking contest with all of them and emerges victorious. Tully then agrees to restart the negotiation. His intuition tells him he should have Rishe as a business partner, not as a client. However, he won't accept anything without knowing the business plan she has, but Rishe can't tell him. Tully finds it amusing. She says interesting things indeed, like forming a contract without him knowing anything and without any certainty of profit. We know Arnold is going to start a war soon, and Rishe intends to stop it with a plan, but she can't talk to Tully about it. He trusts his intuition a lot, but results are more important. So, Rishe quotes something he said, which surprises him. She promises to find a business that works in the capital, and in return, Tully will reconsider his decision, taking that into account. They toast, and Rishe says goodbye but leaves a bag of medicine for Tully's men. Upon returning home, Rishe unexpectedly comes face to face with Arnold, who was waiting patiently for her. He worries and asks if she's hurt, and says that the next time she visits the city, he'll go with her. Rishe thinks it's inappropriate for Arnold to indulge his whims, but he retorts, reminding her that she can do whatever she wants but shouldn't put herself in danger. He knows her well, and if he forbade her from going out, she'd find a way to sneak out again. So, it would be better to impose conditions. Rishe is so hard to read that she surprises Arnold with every action. Then, Rishe asks if he's hungry, and he says it depends on what he's going to eat. Rishe then prepares a soup, but she finds it horrible. She adds more seasoning, but it ends up getting worse. Rishe apologizes and asks Arnold if there's anything else he'd like to eat. She hasn't dedicated herself to cooking in any of her lives. Arnold tastes it and sees that it's good. Rishe thinks he must not have a good palate, but he retorts immediately, asking if she's thinking something disrespectful. She denies it and thanks him. They eat the soup while Rishe explains the situation about the Arya merchants. Arnold, as always, says she can do whatever she wants, even though she didn't tell him the real reason and didn't tell the merchants either. He leaves, warning Rishe about his younger brother and that she shouldn't get involved with him. She tries to find out why, but Arnold decides she doesn't need to know. Rishe decides to study about the city and its market, spending several nights on it. Arnold talks to Oliver about Rishe cooking, even though she didn't know, it was good, but he finds it strange that she used medicinal herbs in the soup. The next morning, as Rishe goes to her garden as usual, always accompanied by the knights she helped, they come across a homeless person sleeping on the ground. He wakes up and calls her sister-in-law. This is Arnold's younger brother, Theodore August Hein. He finds out she made that flower bed, which he refers to as a bed. He says there's something wrong in a certain place there, making Rishe approach. Then he says he came to save her, she's a hostage of Arnold, not a princess. Rishe says she knows all this and that Arnold has a lot of consideration for her. Theodore ponders this and then leaves. Rishe sees that Theodore introduced himself emphasizing as second in the succession of the kingdom. She found this strange. Her guards know about Arnold's brother and his involvement, but they can't say anything about it. Sooner or later, Rishe will have to deal with this, but her priority is the agreement with Tully. On the way, she sees Arnold discussing maintaining the protection of the people and not favoring the nobles. The other man finds it absurd and mentions that his father won't like it. Arnold tells him to put himself in his place. He sees Rishe, who feels a little embarrassed at this moment, so she makes a gesture of strength, and he smiles again. Then Arnold intends to send letters to each noble, explaining that the guard will remain the same for commoners and nobles and that by protecting the commoners, taxes would be paid in greater quantity, giving the nobles more money. In her studies, Rishe remembers that Arnold created several rules that prioritize the people, totally different from the impression she had of him. Upon returning to her room, Rishe sees a letter with a meeting point, with Arnold's name signed. But upon arriving there, she already knew she would find Theodore. Theodore speaks about his brother, calling him a killer and saying that he finished off their own mother. And soon, he'll do the same to Rishe. Despite being surprised, she doesn't fall for it. She says she's fully aware of who Arnold is, and yet, she'll still be his wife. This surprises Theodore, who asks if she heard what he just said. She tells him their conversation is over, and it's better to deal with his brother. Arnold startles Theodore just with his presence. And he reminds him that he ordered him to stay away from Rishe. Theodore shrinks, but also laughs at Rishe. He apologizes and leaves. Arnold also scolds Rishe, but she mentions she couldn't ignore a call from the prince himself and responded to the letter in his name. That's why he came to the location. Rishe doesn't understand why they find him so cruel. It's true that he finished off enemies, but what he does for his people is very kind, and she uses herself as an example. Arnold calls her foolish and says she's only there to be used, that she's his hostage. But Rishe doesn't believe a word he says. She's seen and knows very well what his true self is. Arnold is surprised again and asks what this great determination she has is. A determination compared to warriors on the battlefield who are willing to give their own lives for their convictions. This awakens Arnold's admiration on so many levels that he can't even express. Rishe talks about having dreams where she dies constantly and wakes up right after. However, she's afraid she may have already died, and this life of hers is just a big interrupted dream. But either way, she has decided, whatever her fate in this life may be. What she has is the determination to live as his wife. Arnold holds Rishe's chin, gently forcing her to look up, and then they kiss for the first time. Rishe can barely rationalize the situation. Arnold calls her foolish. She doesn't need determination to be his woman. The next day, Rishe finds herself thinking about her kiss with Arnold, wondering what that was. Her closest servant, Elsie, arrives and notices that Rishe has painted nails. Rishe was inspired by a custom from the East, so she used plants to give color to a nail treatment, thus not only strengthening them but also making them beautiful. This will be her merchandise to surprise Tully. Later, Rishe presents her new merchandise to Tully. It's small and easy to transport, and it would work very well as a souvenir for the workers who come and go from the city. Tully likes it a lot, certainly, women would love it. However, Rishe has a deeper plan with this. There are still many poor regions in the country. This product is easy to produce, but on a large scale, it would be quite labor-intensive. Thus, several job opportunities could be created. She mentions one of Tully's phrases from her past life. They can choose their clients, but now with this idea, they could create their clients. This indeed surprises Tully, who laughs at this brilliant idea. The Arya merchants would sell the products to the commoners, and the commoners would make the final item, later selling them. However, Tully still sees how much Rishe wants to ally with them, and he can wear her out for a while longer, pointing out the flaws in her plan. Rishe was already expecting this, so she prepared something. So, she shows him her letter. Tully is astonished and asks where she got it. In her first life, Rishe met Arya, Tully's sister, who has a difficult disease to cure. With the knowledge she acquired in her lives, she cultivated special herbs to serve as medicine to cure Arya with a 1-year treatment. Tully doesn't seem convinced. After all, Rishe is not a doctor. However, she reminds him of the bag of medicines she left for his men, and it did work and cured their hangovers. She made it herself. Tully always says they must learn to choose their clients, but now, Rishe has completely reversed the situation, him needing her now. But she says she doesn't intend to use her sister as a pawn in the deal, and she'll leave the medicines with him anyway. All she wants is for him to help her bring the opportunity to the people who need it, because just as he has his sister who needs help, other families also have their loved ones and children who sacrifice their dreams to bring sustenance to their own families. Tully is so astonished to hear these words that he immediately kneels before her. And he sees how immature he has been all this time. He never even thought about this case regarding the poorest people, and he's ashamed of his arrogance. And so, the Arya merchants form an incredible alliance with Rishe and the Empire. Later, Rishe feels happy to have finally succeeded, but she can't stop to celebrate. As she gets up, she feels dizzy. She lost several nights putting her plans into action. At that moment, Arnold's 2 knights who always accompanied her appear. Rishe asks Kamui, the redhead, to call Elsie. Meanwhile, the blonde man went to find Oliver to check on the princess's condition. But when they get there, Rishe has disappeared. And so, we find out that Elsie and Kamui work for Theodore and took advantage of Rishe's indisposition to capture her. I really wasn't expecting this plot twist. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe for more. Comment if you want part 3. See you soon, until next time.